There we are.
There we are.
Guys.
Look who's turned up, the bully. Right? Yeah. Here I was having a lovely morning to myself, thinking, gosh, I'm not being bullied this morning. And what happens is
I turn up.
She turns up.
I was writing my insults. That's what it was. I was trying to find some new jokes and everything for you.
You're funny enough. Right, okay, here we are into the last 3/4 of an hour. I'm glad that Beth is here. Bethan is here because it's out of the chat comes interesting stuff. I'm looking across at the courthouse at the moment, and there's one of the briefs, not the brief, the barristers is out, obviously talking to his clients, and we have the two barristers who were on yesterday, and who are very funny when they get going together, but also full of information. And you being a Scot, I think, found it quite interesting, the difference between English and Scottish law.
Yeah, I studied it briefly when I was studying politics for my higher exams, or A-levels. And it was very interesting, but they never really went fully into depth of why and how it kind of came about and what the mindset of other people and how the actual court works. Because that's all uni work for us.
Well, of course, the key news item today is that the House of Commons has been told that it mustn't mention the spy. And we've been talking about the spy the last couple of mornings. But one little vignette to come out of this that you might be interested in is when I first met my wife, and we were going out together. One day she said, "I want to have a serious talk with you."
Okay.
And she said, "I'm a spy, and I want to know whether I should give it up." Yeah, that's a true story. I'm not. It's not.
I was going to say she's not a spy, is she?
She was a spy, and the thing is that it imposed upon her personal life.
Yeah.
And she was worried that, particularly as a journalist, that it would put me in danger. So she gave it up. But this woman who wouldn't say boo to a goose, no, she would. She was pretty firm. But here she was, a very, very nice, pleasant, civil lady, and she was a spy. So I've always the best Fleming novel, James Bond novel, has always been for me The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh.
Have you ever read The Spy Who Loved Me?
No,
It is the best James Bond novel by far. He doesn't come into it until halfway through the book.
Oh,
and it's
so
all about
him.
A young lady in London who gets herself into trouble by doing what she shouldn't do in the back seat of the cinema. And she's caught by the cinema manager. So her aunt, with whom she lives, packs her off to Montreal and some relatives where she spends the summer. And to come back to Britain, she gets onto a little Lambretta and drives down to New York to catch the boat. And she goes through I think it's not the Laurentians, anyway, there's a mountain range, and they're just everybody's packing up the summer cottages and so on, and the motels, and she gets a job closing down a motel. It turns out that she's got a job at a motel that's owned by the mafia, and they're going to burn it to get the insurance money. But they need a body, and it's her, and she's giving up hope, and then a knock comes on the door, looking for a bed for the night. It's James Bond, and comes in and saves her. Of course, it's a wonderful story, But anyway, The Spy Who Loved Me, my wife, God bless her. She never liked me telling that story when she was alive, but I can tell it now that she's passed on.
You're not getting into the doghouse anytime.
No, I don't. I'm very, very free from the doghouse. Right now, what do we start? We were talking about something, weren't we? What was the theme of our chat?
The spy. The House of Commons can't talk about the spy.
Oh yes, about the spy, and it is one of the things about the House of Commons is it is the supreme authority in the land. Nothing can overcome the House of Commons, and for somebody to turn around and say you can't debate it, of course, has upset MPs enormously. And what's happened now is it's opened up a whole can of worms, where it turns out that some of our civil servants, particularly the senior civil servants, have been playing fast and loose. For instance, a very senior civil servant has said that he tried to use his influence to stop Brexit. And now those sort of things coming out means that there's going to be one hell of a scandal. I think that you and I sitting here of a morning are going to find that there's a lot more stories coming out of the House of Commons.
It's definitely going to be an interesting scandal.
Absolutely. And not least of which is because it's from a spy. I have to say, once again, a few things that you don't know about me, but I spent quite a lot of time in Moscow, and I actually set up Russia Today television. And while I was there, of course, everybody said, did you meet Mr. Putin, and did he ask you to spy for him? And my answer is yes, but I'm not going to tell you whether he asked me to spy.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, hi guys. Yeah, my career is I'm a spy. My bad.
It's amazing. You wait. You're at the start of your career in this business. You wait. You'll find yourself in some very strange situations before you're through.
Isn't it just kind of common knowledge that you don't know who a spy is? Like, it's a bit of a common knowledge, right?
Well, of course, you know what I think I told you that I knew the original 007, the real 007. But the any spy will tell you is the best place to hide is out in the open.
Yeah.
People who go around saying I'm a spy. I love being a spy and so on. People say that, and he's the spy.
Like, yeah, he's an absolute nut.
Yeah.
That's crazy Jim over in the corner there. Terrible.
Anyway, what have you been up to? Because I know that yesterday you were very articulate about the fact that you're getting on the housing ladder, and that you're lucky that at the moment you've got your mother-in-law.
Yeah, we're very, very lucky. It's still been very difficult. Didn't know that there was that much money. I've never even seen £5,000, never mind the amount of money to buy a house. I don't know how people do it. But right now, I think what we're trying to do is we're still trying to save to be able to put a deposit down and everything. We have a house on our eyes, but we don't know yet. It's a lot of money. But yeah, we want to go on holiday first and then have that little bit of fun first. And
absolutely. You need to have life. It can't be just about saving for a house, can it?
Yeah, I'm still very young, so I get to put myself where it's like, oh yeah, I want to go to Disney. I'm going to save up for Disney, and I'm just going to go. It's like, oh yeah.
What about your partner? How old is he? About 50?
He is 20. He's 21.
All right. So you're fresh new faces.
Yeah, we're still little
Yeah.
We're still little babbies.
But seriously, you came in this morning and explained what had kept you.
Mhm.
And I hear this story time after time after time, is that you get tradesmen who come to do things. In this case, it's fix your roof.
Yeah.
And they come in and they say, oh, yes, well, we could do it and then take this.
Mhm.
And the moment they start, they then find all sorts of reasons why they can't do it on time.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that a bit disturbing.
It's
and I think
so
that it should be
annoying.
regulated.
Yes,
So
it's very,
how
very
do you feel about this lot that are doing your roof?
They are the sweetest people ever. Honestly, they are so kind. They are very understanding of when we need to leave and everything. We take care of them as much as they take care of us, which is really nice. But yeah, it's very annoying, and it's very scary to think that depending on obviously how much water, our roof could just, like our ceiling, because we're right underneath the attic, could just bend and then collapse. So it's very, very intimidating. But I know they're going to be able to fix it just before that even happens. So we'll still have a room, thank God.
Right. So actually, you're quite happy with the people that are doing it, but it's just that it's the old story. Is I'll finish it on Monday. And on Friday, they're saying,
really
well, I still
sorry.
haven't finished it.
Yeah. We can, there's very much, obviously, very understanding of why. It's not their fault. It was right underneath the solar panel.
Mm.
They couldn't tell. That's perfectly okay. Whereas if it was a massive gash in the roof and they were like, oh yeah, everything's fine, and we seen it, I was like, really? But yeah, they're very great. They're very, very talented at what they do, and they're very kind and very understanding. So.
Right. Now, at the moment, there is a big scandal, if you like, that the old Phoenix Ironworks is about 5 years ago now. The council, I think, bought it or put it aside to be developed for a combination of luxury and low-cost housing. Now, they still haven't started it. And the so-called low-cost housing, as somebody says, low cost to whom? So if you've actually got a £750,000 house in the same complex, is low-cost housing going to be 25,000?
Yeah.
Hardly.
Like what? Like why don't make it into a little bit maybe council housing?
Mm-hmm.
It does. It helps a lot. That's low cost. It helps support other families. It helps certainly support younger families or young people who can't necessarily afford and would go into the streets and everything. It would help so much. And then with the amount of homeless people we've already got, it can house them as well. So it would help them more rather than making it luxury and everything. Make it for the homeless. Why not? Like, it's not going to hurt anyone. It's actually going to help some people.
I mean, this is the big debate. But an estate agent would take a different view. Mm-hmm. He's trying to get as much money as he can for selling a house, and so he obviously will support houses in bumping up in price. Now, you're as you say, you're young. You've got a whole clatter of friends and colleagues. What's their view on the housing situation for youngsters?
They're very understanding that how hard it is. My granddad is more kind of, in a way, gobsmacked about how much a place is now. He's even recommended us just to have that little bit of fun first, because if you're having that, making memories like that, and then save up for a house, because you don't know if you'll be able to do that. Like, you need to have a realistic goal, which right now is very, very hard to have with a house. But he supports us as much as possible. If I ever decided, oh, I'm really homesick and I wanted to go back, there was always a room for me at my granddad's.
All right.
For both me and my partner. So I'm very, very grateful on that.
You've got a roof over your head.
Yeah, either way, I've still got someone there to support me. So I'm very grateful.
Now, when he says have some fun, what's your idea of fun?
going to Disney as much as possible and having as many tattoos as I can. But he understands that that's my way, and he likes it when I go out on days out and I'm enjoying myself, because I never went out much as a child. I always wanted to stay behind my computer and play The Sims.
Yeah, right.
I still like that.
Yeah.
But
you're a very hard worker.
Yeah, I love to explore. I love going to new places. Certainly, I like going into nature and doing some of the climbing. As much as I moan about it, I love it. Going to theme parks, stuff like that. I've always loved it. As much as I don't like I hate roller coasters. Terrified of them. But it's just new adventures, going to little towns where it's not necessarily tourists.
Yeah.
So we would go to Disneyland Paris, stay there. That'd be first holiday, brilliant. Then one point, okay, there's other little towns that's there. We'll go visit them, see what it's like. Go to little cafes and see what it's really like, rather than the tourist blindfold put over us.
Yeah. I'm with you. I cringe when I'm if anybody thinks I'm a tourist. But I've been to 60 countries in the world, and there's not one of them that really that I felt comfortable if I was a tourist. Now, of course, I've had to be on the odd occasion, taking my grandsons to, on holiday and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, I like to get into the highways and the byways, and I like to go with a purpose. And it is interesting if you spend just a little bit more. I mean, I lived in Kosovo for 2.5 years. I lived in Bosnia for 1.5 years. I lived in Romania for 1.5 years. And getting to know the differences and so on is really, I mean, sometimes you feel, oh, God, I wish I was at home. But it's a good experience.
Yes, definitely.
And it certainly holds you in good stead for your career.
Yeah. It's more about what the people think. As much as Disneyland, let's say Disneyland Paris or Disney World Florida, amazing, great, everyone loves it. Well, I hope everyone loves it, because I am a little bit obsessed with Disney and it's amazing. Whereas some of the locals might think, oh, the fireworks shows every night, that's really annoying. Oh, like, here we go again, someone's dressed in Disneyland clothes, I bet they've been to Disney. And it's really not affordable. We're planning it for my 21st, and I'm so excited. But
which one are you going to?
Paris first. Me and my foster mum went there when I was 3. I tried to run away with another family. They got me back. I was put onto one of those kiddie leashes after that. But I want to recreate all those memories with my now partner. So it's like we've kind of been where my gran was. So we're staying in the same hotel, doing very similar things, but obviously it's very different now from what it was in 2006. So we're going to go there for 5 days, 4 nights. I am so excited. It's going to cost us about $3,500, so it's not too bad.
No,
but that's with all the bits and bobs and everything.
Yeah,
with the character.
Actually, if you set your mind to saving, is over. Let's see, you're 19 now. 21. You got almost 3 years to save.
Yeah, so we're spending next year all like saving for it. So whether that's like 5%, whatever, we're gonna still save all that bits of money, and then we're gonna go. And I want my fiance to surprise me about it, but I feel like I'll book it first before him. Like, I want this little, like, oh, he's bought me a Disneyland suitcase with the Disneyland jumper and Disneyland ears and a Disneyland. I'm making him the
so
run for his
you're
money.
going to really immerse yourself in it.
Yeah, I never had that as a child, and I really, really want it. So it's my 24th. I'm going all out, since it's New Year as well, so we'll get to go to the Mickey's New Year party. So tickets go sale in October for that. So he
Well.
needs to make a rush on that decision.
Let me tell you a feel-good story about Disney. They made a lot of very, very good wildlife movies.
Yes.
In fact, I think they still got a
did.
wildlife unit. But they would come up to Vancouver to shoot a lot of these things because it's fairly raw,
Yeah.
mountainous and so on. And they would play golf. The Disney team would play golf.
Oh.
And there was a young boy on the golf course, and he used to go and find their golf balls for them and so on. And they would give him $1 or whatever. And he got to like him, so they gave him more jobs. Yeah. And eventually they made him the clapperboard guy on their shows. And a few years later, the chap that ran the golf course heard that the Disney people were coming back and they were coming to play golf, and he met them, got to know them, and the chap said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And he said, "No." He said, "I am now the executive producer of this Disney group making this thing." He said, "And I used to go here and find their golf balls for $1." Oh. And they looked after him, and he grew up, and he became part of the Disney team, very valuable. So I always think that's rather a nice story.
Yeah, they honestly, Disney, as much as there's a lot of controversy with Disney sometimes, they really take care of children. They really take care of people who, certainly when I started to lose hope and everything, watching some of the fireworks shows and everything, and it's just the way they kind of spoke, and it's like, dreams really do come true, and like, always make a wish upon a star, and it's like, that kind of got me. I was like, but yeah, they really do take care. Certainly they took care of my foster mom. We got kind of, since she was in a wheelchair and she couldn't see the parades, we got to go, obviously they pushed us to the front and we got to see the parades. I started shouting on Tigger. I'm not like this anymore. I started shouting on Tigger to ask him to sign my autograph book because I didn't understand, they couldn't stop. And I kept shouting on him, absolutely heartbroken. He still never signed my autograph book, may I add, so I've got a bit of beef. But he never signed it. So I started shouting, "I hate your college. Like, the next time you'll remember." I was 3 years old. My gran was having a red neck and looking down like, this is... But it was the best, most magical experience, and I can't wait to do it again. And I still watch we've watched Tangled about how many times? About 12, 15 times. I've watched Bambi 5 times. I've watched Coco 12 times. Encanto about 20 times. I watch every single one on repeat, so I'm not allowed to choose movies anymore.
What's the one with Let's Go Fly a Kite?
That is Mary Poppins.
Yes, Mary Poppins. There was a big controversy between the lady who wrote Mary Poppins and Walt Disney himself. Now, this quite often happens at the top level, but it got to the point where she was very meticulous because it was about her stepfather, I think it was, who was a real character, a real devil, and Disney sort of tried to play down his character, and she wouldn't have it. This was what he was. Let's reflect it in the movie. But so they fell out of it, and he refused to invite her to the opening, the premiere. She went anyway. And apparently there's this marvelous scene where she walks in and he's there, and they say, "Oh."
I honestly, if I could go back in time, I would have loved to have met Walt Disney. There is a theory and a conspiracy where there's this little kind of light above Walt's studio, which is either, if it's Paris, it's above Club 33. If it's in US Main Street, it's just above the fire station. He used to stay there with his family because his mother, I believe she died of cancer. So he made it so then she was comfortable and she was in this fairy tale world. So if you ever see that light go on, whether it's cast members doing it or whatever, it means that Walt Disney is there.
Is on site.
Yeah, so it's cool and it keeps his spirit alive a little bit.
All right. Oh, that's interesting.
So,
it's amazing how some of these very famous people do little signature things like that. Alfred Hitchcock, for instance, always appears in his own movies, only for a very brief second.
Yeah.
But now, if I watch a Hitchcock movie, the first thing I start to do is from the moment that it starts, I start to look to see whether I can spot it.
It's the same with who made the Marvel movies. I can't remember the name.
He's turned off.
Do you think?
No, it's the guy with like Stanley. Stanley is in majority of Marvel movies, and he's his own background character, and he's so cute. I remember was it Spider-Man Homecoming? He was on the train. Yeah, he was just on the train, and he was chilling with I think it was a newspaper or whatever, and he was, God rest his soul, but I do miss spotting him in movies, and that was very fun.
Yes.
That was
what amazes me. I have to say, the versatility of some film stars.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the chap that plays Spider-Man.
Which one?
It's the chap who played the original Spider-Man.
Not Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield's second. Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. Have you ever seen him in the movie Biscuit? Seabiscuit.
I've not watched.
He is absolutely brilliant, and it's a brilliant movie, and it's a movie that is a real life story. Is this young chap during the Depression? His family decide to move west, and because they can't afford to feed him, they leave him in a refugee camp.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell him that they're going. They're just not there one morning, and he has to fend for himself. So he becomes a jockey, even though he's a bit big for a jockey, and he's battered around. And then he's picked up by this millionaire guy who has just bought this misfit of a horse. Nobody can control the horse.
Oh, wow.
And he puts them together. And in the end, this horse beats everything in sight. And it's a brilliant movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Tobey Maguire plays the part of the jockey.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite true that when this horse appeared at various race courses, they had to close the gates to keep crowds out.
Oh.
Everybody would go to see this little horse take on the big boys and so on.
Oh.
I mean, I like these feel-good movies and stories, don't you?
They are good, yeah.
I loved watching Spirit as a child. So it was about this horse. He was very young. His name was Spirit. And he was a wild horse, and then I think it was hunters captured him, or this ranch captured him. His mother unfortunately passed away. Another Disney movie, DreamWorks movie that decided to kill his mother again. But yeah, there's only one person who could tame him, and Spirit then fell in love with this other horse, and they let him go, and they ran off in the wild together. And it's so upsetting, but it's so cute.
Yes, I mean, most intriguing movies are so sad. They bring a lump to your throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it gets to a sad scene, I've kind of realised that I do this to myself. As soon as it gets to a scene that I don't like, I don't watch the rest of the movie.
I'm exactly the same.
Stop.
Yeah.
It's like, what was one? Inside Out. When Riley tries to run away and everything, I stopped watching the movie. I'm like, no, like this is no. I hate it.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I must confess I do like the Rocky series. Is somebody who he's a fighter, but he's a small time guy, and just by accident he gets a chance to have a pop at the world champion, and draws with him, and of course that makes him famous. But it is who plays the part of Rocky?
I think if you're on about the one, I think it's Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone, yeah, who is a master. I mean, he does in Rambo too,
Yes.
at playing the part of the put down person, who's never had a chance and so on, and then suddenly seizes this opportunity, but never loses his humble approach to things. I have to tell you, unfortunately, it's not like that in real life.
Yeah.
Humble people who become famous become pains in the bloody arse. I've dealt with a number of them, but the whole idea is that's as people, as viewers, that's what we like. We like to think that this exists. The other thing is that the goodness of human nature. This is a movie way before your time, but it's called Rattle of a Simple Man, and it's about a lad from up north, Ebai Gum, and his football team get to the cup final, and he's the lad that tinkers with his motorbike. He doesn't really go off with the boys drinking very hard, but he goes on the coach. He goes down there, and of course they all go around London and so on, and they put him up to having a drink with this girl who is nominally a hooker, and it turns out that she's rather a nice lady, and he falls in love with her. And the last scene is they can't decide whether he should stay with her or not, and he decides to go home. And the coach is leaving London, and he thinks, I've made a mistake. And he gets off the coach, and he had one of these rattles that they use at football matches, and he goes back and knocks on her door and says, I forgot my rattle. I mean, they're lovely, those sort of movies,
Yeah.
Never happen in real life, but nonetheless, they get us sort of going about the goodness of human spirit. Right, it's 5 to the hour, whatever hour that is. I've lost track. 5 to 11. We've had a good chat since you in here. And that's really what we should be doing at 8 o'clock in the morning, but still, never mind. We'll get around to that eventually. We've had an interesting morning this morning. I filled in a little, but the question of the spy and the issue of the spy, I think we're going to see in the news for quite some time, and it's one that we need to take quite seriously.
Yeah.
And I hope that the issue of spying, of course, is very difficult. I belong to a club in London, and it has a lot of Foreign Office people as members there. And I can remember our MP here went to lunch with me at this club, and he said, my stepfather brought me here, and he said in the corner there was one of these famous spies having a drink and a chat quite normally. He said, and that night he defected to Moscow. Off he went. Spies are all over the place, and it's something that we have to be very careful about, because secrets are secrets, and they are quite often for our own safety. So this is going to be an issue to see whether, in fact, modern spies, mind you, of course, when it comes to Russia, Mr. Putin, President Putin, is just naughty enough to send spies out to assassinate.
I mean, he said, was it a warship or what was it? Was it like the plane to Scotland?
I don't think it would have been anything to worry about. I think it might have just been maybe
It
a
just-
surveillance plane to see what we might have been up to.
Yeah, like there was a Russian plane just outside of where, like, Edinburgh, so it was like right on the shoreline, and then obviously the whole British Army found out about it, the RAF found about it. They went all havoc and took it out. But I bet he'll do things like that just to be like, oh well, like, you're actually scared of us, like, you know, oh, like, let's see how much power you actually have.
Yes.
So
Well,
it's definitely teasing us.
My hosts and my friends in Moscow, when I'm there, I go down and spend weekends in their dacha, which is their weekend. Well, it's more than a cabin. It's a summer house, and he was a retired nuclear subcommander. He was a dreadful man, because we both woke up early. And do you know the game Yahtzee?
Yeah.
Yes, he loved to play Yahtzee. So he said, Keith, his English wasn't that great. He said, Keith, we play Yahtzee. And this was before breakfast. And in between each throw of the dice, we had to have a vodka.
I love
that. 8 o'clock in the morning playing Yahtzee, drinking vodka. But he was telling me that his wife and daughter, in fact, his wife and daughter came and stayed with us in Lewis. Very nice people they are. And she was an English teacher and spoke fluent English. But he was saying, and they were confirming, is because he was a nuclear subcommander, he's considered to have secrets, and he can't go abroad for a holiday. He has to stay in Russia. So there's. It's nice to be a sub-commander, but it's got its downside as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, Red October notwithstanding.
But I can understand why he'd be like a risk.
Sorry?
I can understand why he would be a risk. For instance, if he got interrogated, they find out secrets.
I'm sure. One thing he did say to me, he said, he said the American Navy and a submarine navy and the Russian submarine navy. He said, none of us knew what the hell we were doing. He said, how we didn't start a war, I'll never know.
And now he's not in it, and all of a sudden there is a war.
Pretty close too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that it's time for us to say cheerio. We've got work to do, as often is the case. In television, it doesn't end by saying goodbye to you. So we'll say toodle pip. And if you would like to do the honors, first of all, say toodle pip, and then toodle pip us out.
Toodle pip for now.